Take a good look at this thing. It's just wood and metal, right? Based on a design that's over 500 years old. And yet, this machine is considered one of the most powerful inventions in all of human history. Why? Because it quite literally built the world we live in today. So that's the big question, right? How did a kind of clunky-looking press from the 1440s manage to kick off a revolution that would spark religious reformations, fuel scientific discovery, and basically rewrite the rules of society? Well, let's dive in. To really get the massive impact of the printing press, we first have to take a step back to a world where knowledge was incredibly rare, super expensive, and locked down by just a handful of people. Before Gutenberg came along, every single book had to be copied out by hand. I mean, just picture it. A scribe, hunched over for hours, days, weeks, painstakingly copying every single letter one at a time. This process made books unbelievably rare and astronomically expensive. Knowledge wasn't for you and me. It was a luxury item for the absolute top tier of society. Now, this is where it gets kind of mind-blowing. Check out the difference in speed. A highly skilled scribe, they might be able to crank out a few pages in a good day. But a single Gutenberg press, in that same amount of time, could turn out up to 3,600 pages. This wasn't just a step up. It was like going from walking to flying a fighter jet. A total game changer. So who was the guy behind all this? Johannes Gutenberg. He was a goldsmith from Mainz, Germany. And what's so brilliant about him is that he wasn't just an inventor who created something from nothing. Nope. He was a master synthesizer who cleverly pulled together existing technologies to create something completely new. And this, right here, this was his big aha moment. He looked at the common screw press, the kind people had been using for ages to make wine and olive oil, and had a flash of genius. He figured he could use that same basic idea, that same powerful, even pressure, to press ink onto paper. It was the perfect mashup of old-school agriculture and brand-new information tech. But look, the press itself was only one part of this whole puzzle. Gutenberg's genius was really a system with three key parts. First, he perfected movable type, using a special metal alloy that was tough enough to be reused over and over. Second, and this was absolutely crucial, he invented a hand mold that let him mass-produce identical letters quickly and accurately. And third, he came up with a new kind of ink, one based in oil, that would stick to the metal type perfectly. You put all three of those things together, and suddenly you have a system for true mass production. So with Gutenberg's system ready to go, the world was about to get hit with its very first information explosion. The numbers here are just, well, see for yourself. In just the first 50 years after the invention, by the year 1500, printing presses across Europe had pumped out over 20 million books. That number is just staggering for a world that used to count books one by one. But wait, it gets crazier. That was just the warm-up act. In the next 100 years, that number jumped tenfold to an estimated 200 million copies. The floodgates of information weren't just opened, they were completely blown off their hinges. This chart really shows you that incredible exponential growth. You can see it right there, from a few million in the 15th century to nearly a billion by the 18th. You are literally watching an information revolution take off. This is the moment knowledge went from being a scarce resource to an abundant one. And the technology itself spread like wildfire. This map is amazing. Within just a couple of decades, Gutenberg's idea went from his one little workshop in Mainz to over 200 cities all across Europe. Every single one of those dots became a new hub for creating and spreading ideas. Okay, so printing millions of books is impressive, for sure, but the real story, the thing that really matters, is how all those books completely and permanently changed society itself. You see, this wasn't just the tech revolution. It was a social revolution with huge aftershocks. The press let Martin Luther's ideas go viral, fueling the Protestant Reformation. It let scientists across the continent share their research, which kicked the scientific revolution into high gear. With cheaper books, literacy rates shot up, breaking the elite's chokehold on education. It even helped standardize languages, which helped create our modern idea of nations. And for the first time, concepts like who wrote what, authorship and copyright actually started to matter. But, not everyone was thrilled about it. As early as 1473, this Dominican friar, Filippo de Strada, got pretty worked up.
calling the printing press a whore because he argued it would print anything for money, whether it was true or not. Like any disruptive technology, it had some very vocal critics.
And their fears sound, well, they sound surprisingly familiar, don't they? Critics were worried that this flood of cheap, uncontrolled information would spread lies, make people intellectually lazy, and push dangerous ideas. Some even complained that these newfangled paper books were flimsy and wouldn't last like a good old-fashioned parchment manuscript. Once society got a taste for all this information, the demand just became unstoppable. And that demand for more and for it faster drove the next 400 years of innovation. It was all about one thing: speed. Let's just track that evolution really quick. For centuries, the basic wooden press design stuck around. Then, around 1800, we get the all-iron Stanhope press, which doubled the output. But the real game changer was steam. In 1814, Friedrich Koenig's steam-powered press totally changed the industry, and that led directly to the rotary press, which could eventually print millions of pages in a single day. Koenig's machine, which was first put to use by the Times of London, is pretty much the birth of mass media as we know it. By using steam power, printers could finally keep up with the public's hunger for news. This is what made newspapers cheap enough and common enough for everybody for the very first time. And this table just lays it all out. The numbers really tell the story. A 17th century press was doing maybe 240 pages an hour. The Stanhope press doubles that to 480. But then by 1818, Koenig's steam press is hitting 2,400 pages an hour. That's a 10-fold increase from the original design. The need for speed was definitely being met. Which, of course, brings us all the way to today. We've gone from thousands of pages a day to a global network that connects billions of us instantly. And it leaves you with a pretty big question to think about. If a simple machine that printed paper changed the world so completely, what are the aftershocks going to be from our own technology?